Hello and welcome to another session of Sports Tech Live with Hype. Today we are honored and privileged to be joined by a fantastic founder, Mr. Paul Foster, founder of OnePlan, based out of the UK, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lovely Monday afternoon. You've got your tea with you, I assume.
Yeah, I think I'm on tea number 4 now, but yeah, I try to level it off later on in the afternoon.
Yeah. We're on about coffee number 5 here, and it's starting to really cool down, heading into winter. Yeah, so we're going to have a lovely chat about sports tech innovation, some news from OnePlan, who you are, what you do, and steps moving forward for OnePlan. Instead of me introducing you, I'll give you the platform. You can introduce yourself and a bit about what OnePlan does in short, and then we'll move forward with the specifics.
Okay, so we're essentially born out of one of the big pain points of the event and the venue planning industry. So I've been fortunate now to have worked on 6 Olympic Games, and many of my team have worked on multiple sports events all over the world. And one of the big challenges has always been site planning. So where people will cut and paste from Google Earth, or they'll cut and paste from an AutoCAD drawing, they'll put it into PowerPoint, and then they'll start doing their dot planning on there, or they'll start to do where the tents, cabins, containers, barriers, light columns, all this kind of infrastructure will be needed to be kind of placed. Now, the reason people use PowerPoint is because it's on your desktop and it's easy to use and it's accessible for everybody. And then they'll save it. They might convert it to a PDF. They'll send it off to someone then to review it. They'll then make comments. It'll come back. But some of the big problems with that is everybody starts to plan in their own way, and we've got multiple versions of the plan. So like, which version are we working on? And then you go into the logistics and procurement. So how are these things ordered? How many barriers are needed? How much are we paying for them? When are they needed? Well, that often sits on a separate spreadsheet. So outside of that planning kind of process. So how are the two linked together? And they're kind of totally separate. So some events we worked on, we reviewed the number of PowerPoint presentations and Excel documents, and it was getting into the hundreds. So essentially what we do here is just turn that into one single source of truth. So there is one live plan of where everything is kind of placed. And there's also one live bill of quantities, your shopping list for the event. Now, if you and I, David, were logged into a plan, we're working with Glastonbury. So let's say we're logged into Glastonbury's plan. Before we came along, they had 99 separate kind of CAD drawings that different team works on. Now they have one. If you're logged in, you can see my cursor and I can see your cursor. And you could say to me, Paul, look, you can't put that cabin or tent there because I'm going to have some drainage underneath or whatever. We'll pick it up, we'll move it, we'll agree it, and then we'll move on. So we've kind of really reduced down that big pain point.
This is all happening live time, working together, yeah?
Yeah. It's all in real time in a live kind of cloud-based system.
Okay. Sounds pretty encompassing. So correct me if I'm wrong. You've said a lot of things now, and if I could try and summarize it into one sort of phrase, architecture meets event planning.
Yeah, in some ways, how we always kind of explain it to people is that single source of truth. So it's a single source of truth for your event site plan. There's not multiple plans. There's no one asking, what version we're on. You log in, and that is the single source of truth in real time.
Okay, incredible. So you've got this fantastic product. I'm a stadium manager in Brazil or Argentina. We've got a big clash coming up. What are the factors which I need to take into consideration, and how is OnePlan going to help me?
Yeah, so different games have different requirements, so different levels of stewarding, different levels of overlay requirement. And you may have different phases of your operation where your people are positioned on the way in, maybe different at the end of the game when people are leaving. And then on top of that, you could have your emergency processes as well. But what we're able to do within OnePlan is have different scenarios. So from the control room, you can see what you do in each kind of phase of that particular event. And when we start off with the system, one of the key challenges people said to us, oh, your system's based off Google Maps. That's the mapping system we use underneath. But it's 6 months old, and my stadium's looks totally different now because I've got a new development. So what we've actually done is we've linked up with satellite providers, and we're able to get the latest satellite imagery for anywhere in the world. So we can get satellite imagery that may only be kind of 2 weeks old. The other benefit of that is it's much higher definition than what's available kind of publicly open source. So it's 5 times higher definition than what we have maybe on Google Maps, or where you can find on kind of Bing Maps. So also kind of bringing that right up to date. And again, in the control room, like I said, they can see the kind of real-time planning for their whole event. We can also integrate CAD drawings as well. So where a stadium may work on separate levels, there may be 3 or 4 levels of a big stadium, so let's say the Maracanã, and you need to see the different levels. Again, we can put those different levels in, and you can see the human resource planning and the temporary overlay planning for each of those levels.
Wow. So you can integrate CAD drawings into a live system, and then not only integrate that, but collaborate with external users live.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens, you can share the plan as editable, so other people can edit the plan, and it has a log of who's moved what where. So if someone starts moving your barriers, you know who it is. Or you can put restrictions on there as well, so only you can move. Say the security team only want to be able to move their type of hostile vehicle mitigation, for example. Then we could set it up in that way as well. With external partners, you can also do view only. So this often happens with suppliers. So a client will share a view only version of OnePlan with their supplier, and this is okay, this is where the cabins you supply, this is where we need you to put them. And what they then do is then they give them the OnePlan app, and those suppliers, when they've installed that item, they take a photograph of the item. It then pops up on the desktop, say this item's been delivered, and you can see a photograph of it. So wow. It also enables you to track all your installation. Now, if you think of something like Glastonbury Festival, they have almost 1 million items of temporary overlay. So, when you've got kind of big major events coming in, it enables, again, one single source of truth from your desktop to track all of that installation coming in and out. And as many people watching will know, when you get to some of these bigger mega events, then, the install phase is significant.
Yeah, so you bring up something interesting now, because as a cricket fan, I watch a lot of cricket every year. There's different tournaments, and each tournament comes with a new sponsor, and each sponsor comes with its new challenge and their specific requests in terms of branding within the stadium. So now they want to bring a specific feature which is unique to their sponsorship. You then take that and you're able to integrate that in live time as soon as the product is shipped, or even before.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So what we're doing, you can select the items from the menu, you place it onto the plan, and then it goes onto the bill of quantities. We can bespoke this all, and this is exactly what we're doing with World Triathlon and also FIBA, and that's obviously who we were introduced through the Hype program. So the menu is bespoke to them. So World Triathlon, they have bike racks, they have certain types of colors for their items and certain things they want on their menus that they regularly use. They don't need all the things that maybe Glastonbury has. But what that does across all their events globally, it gives absolute consistency in terms of how they are planning, and makes it far more accurate. What we've also started to move into is 3D visualization. So we're starting to do this for FIBA, and I'll give an example of that. So they have some events happening in the Belgrade Arena next year. It's currently a COVID hospital, so they can't go in there to do the planning, the marketing team, the broadcast team to decide where the cameras go or where the AV equipment goes. They will do that all within OnePlan's highly realistic 3D environments. So they're able to do all those planning, reduce down the cost of site visits, but still reduce down the risk also of that planning, because they see where everything goes. They can walk in and out of rooms. They can walk out of a fire exit down the street. But that 2D world and 3D world is kind of linked together. So again, it's the single source of truth. They're just viewing it in different ways.
That's pretty incredible. Coming from the marketing world, I'm very happy to hear that if I was the brand manager of a sponsor and the stadium came to me with a solution like that, I would be extremely impressed. Look, up until now, we've sort of discussed the features and the nice to haves and an ideal environment for a stadium manager. Let's not beat around the bush. We're not in an ideal world at the moment. And you would think that the industry of stadium management and event planning has actually taken a plunge in the past year. And sports, of course, was on the forefront of that, heading into the impact of Corona and COVID-19. We saw it straight away in Spain after that massive clash, and it spread, it spread like wildfire, as they say. This would surely be detrimental to the entire industry and to your business. How has it affected you?
Yeah, so obviously the event industry has been hit very, very hard, and it's kind of long-term implications for a lot of people. And I think festivals particularly, there's some festivals that happened in the past that won't be here in the future. But actually for OnePlan, we've seen significant kind of growth. We're now at 50% month-on-month kind of growth, and that's continuing on. We're getting more and more demand for different kind of products and to kind of enhance our offering. And there's two kind of key reasons for that. First of all, the spotlight that's been shone on us in terms of being able to do planning, teams to plan remotely from wherever they are, collaboratively together, like they've never been able to do before. So that's the first thing. And a lot of organizations recognizing that that's the way to go going forward. So for a lot of the international federations, rather than having to travel to every corner of the world to go and view their site planning and check out plans, they're able to do that from kind of anywhere. So that's got kind of long-term benefits now. So that's why people are investing in us now, to kind of follow that through. That's kind of the first thing. Now, the second thing is my background is, David is kind of crowd management science, and I asked a lot of questions about how many people can fit in a stadium with social distancing. We didn't really do too much on it initially until we started to see percentages coming out and fixed numbers from governments to say this is the percentage that can go into a stadium, or the fixed number. So that was a big concern for us because every stadium is different. Every stadium has a different kind of profile and kind of makeup and how people buy the tickets. So what we did is created the world's only social distancing seating assessment. So we worked out the algorithm and calculation of where people should be seated. So the system can actually tell you which seat should be occupied to maximize your revenue or maximize your occupancy. Our typical seating section has over 100 trillion possible combinations. So it's humanly impossible for anybody to actually know what the optimum combination is. And our biggest challenge with this, we worked out the algorithm, but the biggest challenge was we just couldn't do it quick enough. My Mac computer, which is pretty powerful, would have taken 2 years just to do one seating block. So we were looking about 16 years probably to do like the O2 Arena in London. So what we use is high frequency trading technology to get to that number and that best combination incredibly quickly. We then set it up as a dashboard kind of system. So once the venue's set up, they're then able to kind of run their own models. And it's proven very popular. A couple of reasons, because it's independent, and we've had it kind of peer reviewed and validated by the National Center of Spectator Safety and Security in the US. It's now used by Chelsea Football Club, used by Arsenal Football Club, and also used by the Brooklyn Nets as well. And we're getting lots of inquiries from some of the major tennis tournaments and other venues as well. But it enables them, as things change, and it gives flexibility in terms of quickly establishing exactly where people should be seated with their social distancing rule, whatever it may be.
Interesting. So I've got a whole bunch of questions. There are a number of things there which are seem to have a bit of a echo here. 1 second, let me sort that out. You said a number of things there which raise many questions. I'll start off with the remote work. Like you said, I'm getting bells ringing from our demo day from when the pilot was announced with FIBA. And the general director, Frank, said at the beginning, you weren't even on his radar. And then he realized how much money was being spent on sort of exec C-level tours to the stadiums. And really every tour is, checking sound, checking visuals, checking branding, hosting capacity, and add on top of that hotels and flights. How much money are you saving them?
Yeah, so it's not the tens of thousands, it'll be more and more. And then if we multiply that by the number of events happening each year, and then everything that happens kind of beyond that, yeah, I mean, it could be significant, but also the time saved is significant, and the reduction in risk as well. So they'll log in, they'll see what the actual plan is right at that very moment in time, not waiting for a kind of, PowerPoint decks or plans to be sent from local organizing committee. So it brings them closer together with that local organizing committee, being able to kind of go in, log in and leave notes, etc., on the whole kind of system. So yeah, significant time saving opportunities. But also with the international federations, it actually turns into revenue. It's a profitable service for them because they're able to offer it to their national federations and other private sector organizations who may organize basketball events for FIBA or may organize triathlon events. And it will be a bespoke version of OnePlan for them, logged in from their website, and people will be able to kind of purchase it from their version of the website. So actually, we'd hope, with FIBA in kind of the next first kind of 6 to 12 months, that they will be generating revenue from the service as well.
Wow. So again, I'm going to go back to your previous comment because I've still got so many questions there about the ticketing and the algorithm which you discussed. Of course, fans in stadiums is a bit of a problem, and some of the stadiums have reintroduced fans in a gradual manner. If I'm a season ticket holder and a stadium or a club now starts reintroducing fans and your algorithm starts running, how are you going to prioritize which season tickets get to join the action?
Yeah, so everywhere is different, and that's the kind of key point. We can run it on different scenarios. So one of the venues we work with, they're pretty much 100% season ticket holders. So the process there is really trying to get people to be able to go to every fourth game rather than maybe every fifth or sixth game, depending on the kind of particular social distancing rule. Where it gets challenging is where we're talking about the grouping mix. So if someone has a group of season tickets and it's 4 season tickets together, the challenge sometimes is, well, are those 4 people from the same household? Because if they are, in the UK rule, it would mean they have to actually split up. If you get lots of singles, then your occupancy level drops down. But again, all the different variables we can kind of take account of. Where it's actually more challenging is where your partial season ticket holders and your partial general admission. It tends to be on the halfway line. You'll have a higher proportion of season ticket holders according to the end behind the goal in a soccer match, where you may have a much lower percentage. In theory, what that could then mean is if you have a season ticket at the end of the pitch behind the goal, you can go to more games than the season ticket holders at the halfway line. So there has to be kind of a back and forward with the season ticket holder to say, okay, look, you're right on the halfway line at the moment. It's all season ticket holders around you. You could go to every other game. If I can just move you to the next block down, are you okay with that? So we can work out. And again, when they readjust that and they come back with different kind of proxy measures, then we could, the system quickly readjusts. Because you can imagine in a 60,000 seat stadium to reallocate individual season ticket holders. I really feel for ticketing teams at the moment, but this system allows a click of a button and to readjust.
I don't want to be that person in that club. I'm happy where I am.
Yeah, I have a new appreciation for ticketing kind of teams.
Yeah.
The amount of work they're going through at the moment to try and accommodate people is phenomenal.
So you said before that you're actually experiencing 50% growth month on end?
Yeah, so significant growth. Yeah, so we're averaging about 50% growth month on month at the moment.
Unheard of in times like these. How are you managing to turn the revenue and expand?
Yeah, so one of the big challenges is kind of keeping up with that growth and the requests from clients. So one of the kind of plus sides, I think, at the moment, there's some really, really talented, good people available that maybe we might not have been able to kind of pull away in the past. So we've now set up our Berlin office. So we have a customer success team kind of based in Berlin, and we have our Toronto office opening in the next couple of weeks as well. And then we'll be looking at Australia as well. So we can have pretty much global coverage. So we're growing our team globally out, and we're taking a really, really kind of diverse workforce. We've got a very, very diverse kind of development team. But all people on the customer success side that have all got that event experience. So when they're talking to clients, they understand the pain points they had, and they can make kind of really, really good progress with them. So we're not just saying, hey, we're a UK company, you've got to be based in the UK. It's a bit of a reverse. I don't want anybody actually near me, to be honest, because I'd rather have people in different kind of corners of the world. And it's not important if you've got a clean driving license, which you often saw in job descriptions before. My number one question is, what's your Wi-Fi connection like?
Yeah. So wow, that's incredible. And like you said earlier, you mentioned the World Triathlon. So that's events and brings its own technical challenges with the changing stations, etc., and the specific parameters per bikes and equipment. But that you mentioned it's the world over, so that's a whole different arena in terms of business development. And while I'm on the note of business development and opportunities, let me ask you a more business-related question. How are you looking to go forward? Are you looking for more investment? Are you staying where you are and focusing on what you're doing? What are your next steps?
Yeah, so we've got a seed round that's kind of closing in the next couple of weeks, and if anyone's kind of interested, then there may be one or two smaller opportunities there. But that is very much focused on people that bring industry contacts and expertise. So we're not looking for any kind of like real VC in there. So that's really kind of very much focused in on people who can bring something kind of to the table. And we're very, very fortunate that we have an incredible level of kind of interest. We've got a lot of VCs knocking on the door, but we're kind of pushing that out to our Series A round. So we will be doing a Series A round in the first quarter of 2021, where we'll give opportunities to kind of VCs to join the party.
Incredible. So if you're an investor and listening to this, a company that through times like these is generating 50% growth, I would definitely leave a comment or contact Paul. I assume LinkedIn is a good way to contact you. Otherwise, of course, through Hype, you're welcome to make the connection. So moving ahead, you mentioned a few things previously which you might have thought I forgot, but you did mention the the Brooklyn Nets, and I happen to know that their home ground is Barclays Arena, and that's quite an arena. What sort of challenges have you solved for them?
Yeah, so we're kind of deep in that project at the moment. It's great. So they're utilizing our seating assessment, and we're running it in two scenarios. So the basketball scenario, and then also a concert scenario as well. So what is the optimum they can get to? And one of the key challenges for them is knowing what the rules will be next week, knowing what the rules will be, after Christmas. Is it going to change because of the vaccine? How will it work? Will you only let people in that have got the vaccine? How will that work? Workforce, etc., etc. So what they really needed was a flexible system which they can quickly rerun models to try and optimize that capacity. We can also put the ticket pricing in there so they know what their revenue levels are. So that's very good for the executives. They can say, look, we rerun the model. This is the occupancy level, and this is what the revenue will generate from that as well. So some of the key challenges there. It's obviously a stunning arena. Some of the corners are kind of quite tight, and so where some of the seats are kind of offset with each other. So with social distancing, the inches and centimeters make a difference, because it means we can kind of get more people in if we take account of everything. So we go down to an incredible amount of detail with those guys to look at where we can optimize the capacity. And what we also have, as well as looking at the seats, we also have in the general system capacity assessments for concourse areas. So in front of the food and beverage, people circulating around the area, and also arrival modeling. So we cover off every aspect of that event, coming in and also leaving as well. Really, really kind of fascinating project, kind of working with them, and little small adjustments we can suggest and make to increase the number of people in the venue.
I'm back.
Hi, David.
I'm back. We went offline there for a second. So you were talking about the adjustments from week to week, yeah?
Yeah, so we just give the flexibility to do it, and without them having to go back into an Excel spreadsheet and then kind of readjust. And the other beauty of it is that we link directly with the ticketing providers. So what the system then says where people should be seated, it can link directly to ticketing provider without too much manipulation. We're working across and integrating with kind of multiple partners to make it as seamless as possible for them.
So you mentioned there something which is really dominant in the past few months, and that's the ability to be agile. As a startup and a founder, what would you say to another startup listening some advice and just words on how to deal with change, and from a business perspective and a management perspective, moving forward in spite of these challenges.
So being flexible and being able to adapt to something is really important. The hardest bit of it, though, is trying to visualize what is actually going to be important in the future and what's going to be needed by a client. There are 101 ideas we had about what we could do and what we needed to do, but it was kind of focusing right in on what the key thing we thought clients would actually need. And that seating assessment, if you said to me a year ago, a social distancing seating assessment, everybody go, what are you on about? What kind of crazy idea is that? So we looked at it, we saw there was a challenge, and we quickly ran with it, and we put some money in ourselves to kind of make it happen and work it all out. And, for us, it's kind of paid off. But that wasn't the only idea. There were like 20 or 30 other ones, but we were like, okay, well, that's a great idea, but is that actually what people are going to need? And can we kind of monetize it? And how would it work? So trying to be as kind of focused as possible. And really, really solving the pain points. Always think about pain points, talking to the clients, even people that aren't clients, talking, what's your current pain point? What can we solve? And really, really honing in on that. As a startup, you haven't got massive resources. You can't, the punch you take, they've got to come off. If they don't come off, it can have a real negative impact on your business. So really, really kind of honing down on what's really, really important, and then, going for it. And then, don't be afraid of competing with the big kind of players in the industry. We've only been going 16 months, but we've got, the Brooklyn Nets, Arsenal Football Club, Chelsea, FIBA, World Triathlon, and many, many other big major clients that some big multinational companies would really, really like. And it comes down to, they appreciate, they understand that we know the business, they understand that we know their kind of pain points.
Yeah. So go big or go home.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to kind of compete with the other big providers.
Yeah. So I understand you've got a hard stop in a couple minutes. Let me finish off on a wonderful personal note. We had a wonderful accelerator and demo day with OnePlan and some of our previous partners. And if I could recall correctly, OnePlan walked away with a couple pilots, mainly the Royal Belgian Football Association, FIBA, of course, and I understand you're doing incredible stuff for their remote situation. 3D, virtual reality, that's a different section, and whoever wants to look into that, I encourage you to Google OnePlan FIBA remote, or you can tell me, Paul, what to in your answer what to search for. But you walked away also with a pilot with Blue Jays and Tennis Australia. If I'm a startup now, considering or debating going into the next round with Hype Sports Innovation, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program, and very, very quickly we refined our offer. So not only, who we were pitching to on the Hype program, when we were pitching to other people kind of outside of that, the way we pitched and the way we kind of sold our products got so much better, because you have lots of high pressure opportunities to kind of pitch in front of senior people, and you get direct feedback very, very quickly. So, and what was really useful is the ones that don't select you. So kind of what's the reasons, where are you at the moment? That's really, really helpful. So, the one for us, I was sure the Miami Dolphins were going to kind of jump on us and be like, yeah, we're going to use that straight away. But they didn't. I was like, so it was good to kind of understand why, what were the reasons behind it. They've done a lot of work internally, and it was difficult for them to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really, really good. So not just looking at saying, hey, look, we're celebrating the ones we got. It's the ones you don't get, and understanding kind of reasons. The other bit I would say was learning from other startups, so seeing kind of where they are, seeing where you think they kind of pitch really well. None of them were competitors to us. We were actually quite different to most of them. But some of them we've kind of carried on the relationship with, and there's potential partner opportunities there as well. So you're kind of learning from those, and connections. So, Ryan, who was linking up with us quite a lot, was brilliant at making kind of little connections for us, introducing us to people, and, kind of really, really spreading the word. And a lot more people know about OnePlan today than they did before the program, for sure.
Yeah, of course. And in fact, not only did you not have competitors, some of the other startups, if I remember correctly, Pronto and Full Venue, they complement your solution very well. I'm thinking like dispersal of hygiene equipment, where to put it, where the high traffic areas are of people coming in. We had a startup previously, which you basically order your food and they tell you where to go to pick it up instead of sitting in a line. And with your infrastructure, you can say, where are the ideal places to actually set that up for the
That's great. And that's what startups should be doing, linking in. You've got to integrate. One of the first kind of questions is, can you integrate with this? Can you integrate with that? And the answer's got to be yes. You've got to be able to kind of do that. If you just kind of totally standalone and isolated, you're going to find it difficult to kind of break in to the industry when there's so many different kind of startups and things there. But I learned a lot from the program. There's some really, really good people there to help kind of refine the way you're doing things. And you just have to ask kind of questions. You get out of it what you put into it as well. And we knew what we wanted out of it, and we certainly got that and more. Yeah.
Well, Paul, I want to just say thank you. And I think it's a huge inspiration if 2020 has taught us anything, it's the world is nothing what we seem. And here we have a startup who seemingly their entire business plan revolves around people being together. And when people are separated, you've been able to really leverage the time and make a success of that. So firstly, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you for your time and for joining us on Hype Live with Hype. And we'll see you soon and look forward to hearing fantastic updates from you.
Okay, great. Hope everybody stays healthy and well. And I'm sure we'll be back up and running and back in stadium soon.
Yep. Till next time.